Once upon a time, there lived a young girl named Cinderella, from the famous story Cinderella. But how did she become a princess? And is the original story darker than the Disney and other remake versions that we know today? Did her stepsisters really treat her like a slave? Is her nickname Cinderella because she always has an appearance of being dusty and dirty from the cinders of the fire she is forced to sleep by? Did she grow a tree from her tears on the top of her mother's grave? And how has she become friends with the bird that lived in the tree? Did her stepsisters cut off their toes and heels so they can try to fit in the golden slipper? Did it fill with blood? And did the birds then attack the sisters, ripping out their eyes, causing them to go blind in pain? It's time for me to answer all these questions and more, since this is ASMR. Aaron, back at it again with another daily video to help you relax. So lay back and enjoy the ride. I hope this read helps you get you through your day, or even better, I hope this video helps you gently fall asleep. I can't wait to get started. This is the tale of Cinderella. Cinderella, the wife of a rich man, fell sick, and when she felt that her end drew nigh, she called her only daughter to her bedside and said, "Always be good, girl, and I will look down from the heaven and watch over you." But soon afterwards, she shut her eyes and died, and was buried in the garden. And the little child went every day to her grave and wept, and was always good and kind to all about her. And the snow spread a beautiful white covering over the grave. But by the time the sun had melted it away, her father had married another wife. This new wife had 2 daughters of her own that she brought home with her. They were fair in face, but foul at heart. And it was now a sorry time for the poor little girl. What does the good-for-nothing want in the parlor? Said they. They who had eat bread should first earn it away with the kitchen maid. Then they took away from the fine clothes and gave her an old gray frock to put on and laugh at her, and turned her into the kitchen. There she was forced to hard work, to raise early before daylight, to bring the water, to make the fire, to cook, to wash. Besides that, the sisters plagued her in all sorts of ways and laughed at her. In the evening, when she was tired, she had no bed to lie down on, but was made to lie by the hearth among the ashes. And then, as she of course always dusted and dirtied, they called her Cinderella. It happened once that the father was going to the fair and asked his wife and daughters what he should bring them. "Fine clothes," said the first. "Pearls and diamonds," cried the second. "Now, child," said he to his own daughters, "what will you have?" The first sprang, "Dear father, that rubs against your hat on your way home," said she. Then He bought for two first the fine clothes and the pearls and diamonds they had asked for. And on his way home, as he rode through a green copse, a sprig of hazel brushes against him and almost pushed off his hat. So he broke it off and broke it away. And when he got home, he gave it to his daughter. Then she took it, went to her mother's grave, and planted it there, and cried so much that it was watered with her tears. And there it grew and became a fine tree. 3 times every day she went to it and wept, and soon a little bird came and built its nest upon the tree, and talked with her and watched her over her, and brought her whatever she wished for. Now it happened that the king of the land held a feast which was to last 3 days, and out of those which came to it his son was to choose a bride for himself. And Cinderella, 2 sisters, were asked to come. So they called up and said, "Now comb our hair and brush our shoes and tie our sashes for us, for we are going to dance at the king's feast." Then she did as she was told, but when all was done, she could not help crying, for she thought to herself she should have liked to go to the dance too. And at last she begged her mother very hard to let her go. "You, Cinderella," said she, "you who have nothing to wear, no clothes at all, and who cannot even dance, you want to go to the ball?" And when she kept on begging to get rid of her, she said at last, "I will throw this basin full of peas into ash heap, and if you pick them up all out in 2 hours' time, shall go to the feast too." Then she threw the peas into the ash, but the little maid ran out the back door into the garden and cried out, "Hither, hither through the sky, turtle doves and linen fly, blackbird thrush, chaffinch gay, hither, hither, haste away. Once and all, come help me pick, hasty, hasty, pick, pick, pick." Then first came 2 white doves flying in at the kitchen window, and next came 2 turtle doves, and after them all the little birds under the heaven came chirping and fluttering in, and flew down into the ashes, and a little dove stood, their heads down, set toward pick, pick, pick. And then others began to pick, pick, and picked out all the good grain, put in a dish and left over the ashes. At the end of 1 hour the work was done, and all flew out again out the window. Then she brought the dish to her mother, overjoyed at the thought that now she should go to the wedding. But she said, "No, no, you kitchen slut. You have no clothes, and you cannot dance. You shall not go." And when Cinderella begged very hard to go, she said, "If you can, in 1 hour's time, pick 2 of those dishes of peas out of the ash, you shall go." And thus she thought she should at least get rid of her. So shook 2 dishes of peas into the ash, but the little maiden went out into the garden at the back of the house and tried out as before. Hither, hither through the sky, turtle doves and linen flies, blackbird thrush and chaff gay, hither, hither, haste away. One and all, come help me quick, hasty, hasty, pick, pick, pick. The first came 2 white doves in at the kitchen window, and next came the turtle doves, and after them all the little birds under heaven came chirping and hopping about, and flew down about the ashes, and the little doves put their heads down and set to work. Pick, pick, pick. And then the others began pick, pick, pick. They put all the good grain into the dishes, and left all the ashes. Before half an hour's time, all was done, and out they flew again. And then Cinderella took the dishes to her mother, rejoiced to think that she should now go to the ball. But her mother said, "It is all of no use. You cannot go. You have no clothes, and you cannot dance, and you would only put us to shame." And off she went with her 2 daughters to the feast. Now, when all were gone and nobody left at home, Cinderella went sorrowfully and sat down under the hazel tree and cried out, "Shake, shake, hazel tree, gold and silver over me." Then her friend, the bird, flew out of the tree and brought up gold and silver dress for her, and slippers of spangled silk, and she put them on and followed her sisters to the feast. But they did not know her, and thought it must be some strange princess. She looked so fine and beautiful in her rich clothes. They never once thought of Cinderella, but took for granted that she was safe at home in the dirt. The king's son soon came up to her and took her by the hand and danced with her, and no one else. And he never left her hand. But when anyone else came to ask her to dance, he said, "This lady is dancing with me." Thus they danced till a late hour of the night. And then she wants to go home, and the king's son said, "I shall go and take care of you to your home," for he wanted to see where this beautiful maiden lived. But she slipped away from him unaware and ran off towards home, and the prince followed her, but she jumped in the pigeon house and shut the door. Then he waited till her father came home and told him that the unknowing maiden who had been at the feast had hid herself in the pigeon house. But then, when they had broken up open the door, they found no one within. And as they came into the house, Cinderella lay, as she always did, in her dirty frock by the ashes, and her dim little lamp burnt in the chimney, for she had run as quickly as she could through the pigeon house and onto the hazel tree, and had there taken off her beautiful clothes and laid there beneath the tree, that the bird might carry them away, and had seated herself amongst the ashes again in the little gray frock. The next day, when the feast was again held, and her father, mother, and sisters were gone, Cinderella went to the hazel tree and said, "Shake, shake, hazel tree, gold and silver over me." And the bird came and brought a still finer dress than the one she had worn the day before. And when she came into the ball, everyone wondered at her beauty. But the king's son, who was waiting for her, took her by the hand and danced with her. And when anyone asked her to dance, he said as before, "This lady is dancing with me." When the night came, she wanted to go home, and the king's son followed her as before, that he might see into the house she went. But she sprang away from him all at once into the garden behind her father's house. In this garden stood a fine large pear tree full of ripe fruit, and Cinderella, not knowing where to hide herself, jumped up into it without being seen. Then the king's son could not find out where she had gone, but waited till her father came home, and said to him, "The unknown lady who danced with me has slipped away, and I think she must have sprung into the pear tree." The father thought to himself, "Can it be Cinderella?" So he ordered an axe to be brought, and they cut down the tree, but found no one upon it. And when they came back in the kitchen, there laid Cinderella in the ash, as usual, for she had slipped down on the other side of the tree and carried her beautiful clothes back to the bird at the hazel tree, and put her little gray frock. The third day, when her father and mother and sisters were gone, she went again to the garden and said, "Shake, shake, hazel tree, gold and silver over me." Then her kind friend the bird brought a dress still finer than the former one, and slippers which were all of gold, so that when she came to the feast no one knew what to say for wonder at her beauty. And the king's son danced with her alone, and when anyone else asked her to dance, he said, "This lady is my partner." Now when the night came, she wanted to go home, and the king's son would go with her. He said to himself, "I will not lose her this time." But however, she managed to slip away from him, through in such a hurry that she dropped off her golden slipper upon the stairs. So the prince took the shoe and went the next day to the king's father and said, "I will take for my wife the lady that this golden slipper fits." Then both the sisters were overjoyed to hear this, for they had beautiful feet and had no doubt that they could wear the golden slipper. The eldest went first into the room where the slipper was and wanted to try it on, and the mother stood by, but her great toe could not get into it, and the shoe altogether was much too small for her. Then the mother gave her a knife and said, "Never mind, cut it off. When you are queen, you will not care about your toes. You will not want to go on foot." So the silly girl cut her great toe off and squeezed the shoe on, and went to the king's son when he took off for his bride, and set her beside him on his horse and rode away with her. But in their way home they had passed the hazel tree that Cinderella planted, and there sat a little dove on the branch singing, back again, look to the shoe. The shoe is too small and not made for you. Prince, prince, look again for thy bride, for she's not the true one that sits by your side." When the prince got down and looked at her foot, and saw, by the blood that streamed from it, what a trick she had played on him, so he turned his horse round and brought the false bride back to her home and said, "This is not the right bride. Look, the other sister try and put on the slipper." Then, when she went into the room and got her foot into the shoe, but all but a heel, which was too large, but her mother squeezed in all till the blood came out, and took her to the king's son, and he set her as the bride by his side on his horse, and rode away with her. But when they came to the hazel tree, the little dove sat there still and sang, back again, look to the shoe. The shoe is too small and not made for you. Prince, prince, look again for thy bride, for she's not the true one that sits by your side." Then he looked down and saw the blood stream from the shoe. The white stockings were quite red, so he turned his horse and brought her back again also. "This is not the true bride," said he to the father. "You have no other daughters?" "No," said he. "There is only a little dirty Cinderella here, the child of my first wife. I am sure she cannot be the bride. However, the prince told me to send her." But the mother said, No, she is much too dirty. She will not dare to show herself." However, the prince would have her come, and she first washed her face and hands, and then went to the curtsied him, and reached her the golden slipper. Then she took her clumsy shoe off, let her left foot and put on the golden slipper, and it fitted her as if it had been made for her. And when he drew near and looked at her face, he knew her and said, "This is the right bride." But the mother and both sisters were frightened and turned pale with anger as he took Cinderella on his horse and rode away with her. And when they came to the hazel tree, the white dove sang, "Home, home, look at the shoe, princess, the shoe was made for you. Prince, prince, take home thy bride, for she is true, the one that sits by your side." And when the dove had done its song, it came flying and perched upon her right shoulder, and so went home with her.